Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome back. I was able to twist Jake's arm to get him back. Jake, thanks for being here, brother.
Man, twist my arm. You didn't have to work too hard at it, man. I love being here with you. Love creating content and sharing what I know works with other people that we say, and it sounds kind of dark, but suffering in silence. So many of the guys out there that I talk to, they just, and me too, I'm always growing. You don't know what you don't know. So if I can be a part of like sharing that with you so you can learn a thing or two, great. I'm happy to drop some gold nuggets with you. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure, sir. And guys, if it's your first time catching us, if you haven't met Jake yet, he is one of our advisors, which means simply if you inquire about the activation method, which is our flagship program, taking men from deactivated to activated, getting you back where you used to be. You'll get on a call with Jake, and he just basically chats with you and see if it's a good fit. Jake's a businessman. He's married. He's got kids, and he's been through the program. So very well versed, and he and I are both on a mission here to help end this suffering that we're talking about. So, Jake, what do you have for us? What do you want to bring to the table today?
Man, we can run through the thousands of conversations I'd want to have, and a little Rolodex I've got in the back of my mind. One thing I don't think you and I have talked about before, at least on a formal conversation before, is this idea that there's a lot of guys out there that will, I hear it all the time in the Facebook group, the free Facebook group, and on the calls I'm on with guys. It's, hey, I'd rather not, say anything at all. I'd rather just kind of be in my lane because I just want to avoid that fight. It's uncomfortable, So, I think it's worth having a conversation around this. Kind of some of the pitfalls, maybe talk about some of the things, why you want to work around these things, and so you can kind of just get back on top of your game with, just with yourself, your family, your business, whatever. What do you say?
I say that's great, man. So tell us what you're hearing from these guys.
Well, this is the phrase, I think the words that people use the most is I'm walking on eggshells, right? So you come home, I've been there before, guys. It's you kind of come home from work, you've been out doing something, maybe you've been, playing sports or having a drink with the guys at the bar, and you feel a little bit guilty. Waiting behind that door is a little bit of tension, something that's going to erupt. You can just feel that from your wife, because she's been there. My wife stays home, takes care of our kids. She's superwoman, but I can feel when she gets a little frustrated, and I can just kind of sense it. I think we all can. And so just instead of walking through the door and having a conversation, it's just like, okay, I'm over here. I'm going to go maybe pour myself a drink. I don't want to have that conversation because I just don't want to go through that again, for the umpteenth time. That's really what I'm hearing a lot of. I'm sure you've heard it from so many guys, Doug.
Oh, I hear it all the time. And probably more importantly, Jake, is I've been there, guys. I call it like Doug 1.0. The powerful man, the activation method didn't exist when I got married, Jake. And I distinctly remember one time, I'm running 3 companies. I'm playing competitive sports at this time in my life. And I remember reaching for the door handle of my house, not wanting to turn the knob because I just didn't want to deal with what was inside. I just didn't want to deal with the BS and everything else. And I was thinking, you know what? If I just don't say anything, bite my tongue, like we're taught as men, right? You just bite your tongue, stiff upper lip, that whole deal. You just take your licks and you move on. We hold everything in. And I didn't realize at the time, Jake, that is the exact opposite thing my wife wanted me to do.
Yeah, you bet. You always say it. I'm going to butcher this quote, so I'm not going to try. But you always say, "Women fight for," and men. What is that quote?
So women will fight for connection, really, right?
Yeah.
Women really want connection from their men. And another thing that just gobsmacked me, like jaw on the floor. I remember my wife and I talking, and it was one of those heated conversations. It wasn't going well, right? I didn't have the tools of like the hidden motives technique or the clean slate method. And my wife basically said, because I was doing now, which was just shutting down, right? Because as guys, there's one of two things, right? So as a alpha guy, if you're in conflict, you do either A, you step up to it, which means you're going to fight, right? Or you leave, right? And you can leave by just shutting down, guys. Doesn't mean you have to leave the house. You shut down emotionally. Yeah, okay, fine, I'll do the dishes. Yeah, whatever. All right, And my wife told me, she said, I would rather you hit me than shut down. It's more abusive to me for you to shut down than it would be for you to actually physically beat me, which I was just floored
Yeah.
right? Just even thinking that I would even hit a woman, which I never have, let alone hurt my wife in that way.
Yeah.
Now I was mad at her. So I was pissed, but I still wouldn't want to hurt her in
Right.
that way, in that manner. And so
Yeah.
that's when I really realized that with the walking on the eggshells or being scared of, hiding myself is really the opposite thing that we need to do as men.
Yeah. And I mean, look, this is something that I've adopted in my mantra. This is like deep in my core. It's that, and it's very, very true. So true in my life, and so many other people that you would know that are successful, they'll tell you the same thing. Everything is significant or wonderful or beautiful in your life is probably on the other side of something very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because being inside your comfort zone, it just breeds mediocrity. And honestly, Doug, I just throw my middle finger up in the air to mediocrity because that's just not the life that I want to live. Right? It's just not. No, this isn't for everybody, but the good things in life, really the substantial things in life, the gold, right? That we're all searching for. It's on the other side of something uncomfortable. It's getting down on your knee and asking your wife to marry you, right? It's scared to death having your first kid. It's all this stuff like launching that new business. It's all fear. Our fear keeps us small. It keeps us from experiencing the greatness in life that we're destined for. And there's greatness inside of everybody. If you don't believe in it, I can believe in it for you. You can borrow some of my certainty, but there is. We're just meant for so much more. And when we kind of dim our light, we kind of stay in our comfort zone. We don't want to rock the boat with our wives because we think that's the right play. It's just not. Right. And the reason that is because, women, they want to feel your power. They want to feel you stepping up. They want to see you rising to those challenges because, look, if we go back 10,000 years and we're all sitting in a cave, think of the guy that's the alpha, the guy that's out there after the challenge, punching saber-toothed tigers in the face and ripping tusks out of a mammoth's head and stabbing him in the gut, right? Bringing that home for the family. Like that's the guy that she wants. It's not the guy that's in, kind of back in the cave, making nice with everybody. And so now there is something to be said about energies, masculine and feminine energies that we all have. But really the guy that's going to show up and really lead his life well is the guy that leads himself well. And if you can just get in the mindset of doing difficult things, right? Seeking out fear and then like leaning into that, right? So that you don't limit yourself. So you can, your candle can shine. You don't have to limit your candle for anybody. And when you do, you can touch so many other people's lives. It's not selfish. This is so your wife can have a better experience with you, so your kids can love you deeply and more connected, and people on your teams, people that you outreach to, man, it's just so much bigger than just me being scared, walking on eggshells because I want to keep myself small. That's kind of how I see it at a high level.
No, it's so true, man. Never dim your light, guys. And what happens for a lot of men, Jake, is they're basically saying, hey, look, I'd rather just not say anything because I just don't want to deal with the fighting, avoiding the conflict that comes with whatever it is that needs to be talked up, whether it means joining a program, whether it means going out with the guys, whether it means playing volleyball, which you do quite a bit. Whatever it is to fill your cup, guys just go, look, I just don't want to fight. I don't want to get rejected. I just don't, as your point, don't want to walk, I'm walking on eggshells because it's just not worth it to me. And to those guys, I'll say, look, I always talk to other men, Jake, when I'm coaching them is show me where your next life is. Like, in other words, where is your Super Mario Brothers? You get 3 lives and this is number 1. You got another one. You can do it better.
Yeah.
Because you don't, guys. This is your one shot at the game we call life. And you have one ticket. And so you got to make sure you're doing it the way that fills you. And sometimes you need a little help doing it. Hence a podcast like this or going to the free Facebook group where Jake has posted an amazing training in there. You want to look at this because being scared not to rock the boat, really what you're doing is you're dimming your light, your life, and thus you're not allowing your wife the space to shine brightly. So now both of you are feeling miserable. And instead of you just taking action, right, and pulling out the splinter, pulling out whatever it is that's causing the pain, you're just sitting there hoping that the pain over time, you'll just get used to it, right? So therefore you'll just be used to the pain. And that's no way to live. That's not a way you would do it in your business. So why would you do it in your personal life?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I'm really careful of and cautious of is like, hey, look, like all this stuff is reasonable, right? Like we have so much guilt and shame from everything else in our lives that, we put on ourselves as guys. Like you don't need to feel any more shameful or guilty about this. That, maybe you are walking on eggshells. Maybe you're feeling this is causing a little bit of emotion and you're just like, Jake, F you, man, that's get out of here. But it's reasonable, right? We feel fear because of something. Like I always say, something causes everything. Right. When somebody has like a troubled upbringing or, like they've got a tough relationship now, or maybe they're, a little bit, maybe they don't have good control of their temper. It's like something causes everything. Mm-hmm. Right. So just kind of rid yourself of the shame and the guilt of that because there's something that, that caused that. right? And we can look at that. We can decide to stay and continue to be that guy. That's okay. Or we can look at, okay, who around me, or what can I learn to get over that thing? And so when I talk about, think about guys walking on eggshells like I used to do. Well, why? I was afraid of it. There's fear there. And the reason was because I didn't think there was any way to avoid that. I didn't have any tools to be able to do that. And Doug, if I asked you, man, would you want to go to, spend a month alone in China right now by yourself, not knowing Chinese at all, you'd probably have a little bit of fear around that. Right. But I said, Doug, like, what if I just taught you how to speak Chinese and you can get around and really experience this beautiful vacation? You've always wanted to go to China, right? You say, yeah, I've always wanted to. I wanted this beautiful thing. Cool, man. Let me teach you Chinese and you're going to go have a great time there. You feel a lot more comfortable with it. And that's why we've got the systems and we've got the tools to help guys so you just don't feel afraid anymore and you can get to where you want to go in your relationship.
Yeah, it's so true. And it just really, the men that we serve are businessmen, right? We work with business owners and executives. We have a course because we're trying to help everybody for all men, right? Called the Powerful Marriage Reset. But for business owners in particular, guys, think about the way that you would handle your business. If there was an issue within your business, would you attack it directly, or would you just hope mysteriously somehow it fixes itself? It doesn't work. And I think so many of us, I was too at this point in my marriage, is I was surviving on hopium, right? I call it hopium, where you're just hoping that over time it's just going to get better.
Yep.
And guess what? It doesn't. It doesn't get better. You have these little peaks where it starts to seem like it's going to get better, and then you hit that valley again. And you hit the valley, it's really hard when you don't know how to navigate out of it. And it's when guys shut themselves down is when the real problems start to happen there in their marriage, and their wife feels isolated, right? So when we shut down as men, or we're scared to talk, or we say to ourselves, look, I'd rather just not say anything and bring it up to avoid conflict. Really what you're doing is you're making your wife feel isolated and alone. And what is a woman going to do if she feels isolated and alone? She is going to seek comfort from somebody else. Now, it may not be another man, right? It may be, a sister, her mother, a girlfriend. But guys, let's be real with each other. A lot of us know in the day of social media, right? There's somebody hitting her up in her DMs. There's an ex-boyfriend or what have you. And all it takes is for her to feel lonely and isolated for her to start responding. And we hear it all the time, guys, where men are, just slapped on the side of the head with an affair or an emotional affair. It happens more than you guys probably know. And they don't find out until it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. And one of the things, Doug, if I can go a little bit deep on this subject, and it might be a little too intense off in the weeds, but it's important if you really want to get like a good education on this and go a little bit deeper, guys, pay attention to this stuff because it's so real. And this is not something I'm making up. It's not something a TPM made up. This is just science, psychology. So when you think about what a woman needs in a relationship, among several things, emotional safety is way up there.
Yep.
You got oxygen, you got emotional safety, way up there. When a man's not leading himself well, or he's walking on eggshells, he's not being the leader in the relationship. Maybe you think about, Doug, when you were 21, 22, and you just felt alive and vibrant, you could just, take on the world. These things wouldn't have bothered you then. But over time, what happens? We've got our masculine energy up here and our confidence and our leadership maybe up here. But stress in business and kids and life and things get in the way, we start to slip a little bit. And then, again, this is reasonable. It just will happen. No shame in that. Right. But what happens now is she's not feeling emotionally safe because you're not leading her. So she's not feeling safe. Now she's going to fall. She's going to fall in this place where she's feeling fear. She's not being seen or heard or understood. That fear that she feels, it's like almost like death.
Yeah.
It's like she'll feel, guys, like everything that's good in her life is going to be taken from her. Everything, all of the safety and everything. And it's nothing money can buy. It's something you give her and your family. Right. And so if she's feeling that fear, guess what? She's going to move away from that. Of course, anyone would. Nobody wants to feel fear. So she'll move away. She's going to go in one of two places. It's either she'll get very assertive, very dominant. When you think about a woman wearing the pants in the relationship, that's that assertive alpha. Her masculine energy is starting to rise to match yours. That creates problems I'll talk about as well. And the other places, like Doug was talking about, she's going to just go into a shell, really just kind of like wall you off. She's not going to let you, she's not going to feel vulnerable with you. She's not going to feel safe. So you get shut out. And guess what? Keeps making you fall. Now you're losing confidence, and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm just a shell of the man that I was before. It's hard to lead. It's really hard to pull yourself up by the bootstraps when you get to that place. Now, to go a little bit deeper on this, and this is so huge, guys. If you want a quick win in your relationship, build some polarity. Build some polarity in a relationship. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. It's polarity. Guys, we've got our masculine energy, man. When we're vibrant, we're energetic, and we're powerful, man, just like you feel like I'm maybe on a sports field or something like that, man, people can feel that. There's magic in it, right? So you've got to do things that can raise your masculine energy and lead her well. And so when you start to do that stuff, watch, she's in her masculine energy, most likely, right? If she's fallen this place of fear, she's going to be in her masculine. And so what happens is you guys are like two north magnets. Doug, you ever try to put two north magnets together? You're a strong guy, but guess what happens? Push each other apart.
Yep.
Right. And so what you do with this is maybe it's doing things you love. Maybe it's hiking or shooting guns or combat sports or something. Do some things. Get around some other masculine dudes. Raise your masculine energy. It'll signal to her subconsciously. Right. She doesn't have to be like we talk about it all the time. Fix your marriage without having to talk about it. This is that. She'll fall out of that masculine energy. She'll feel safe. She'll be in her feminine, that flow. And now you've got two magnets. One's north and one's south. And guess what happens? It's just like at the beginning of your relationship, how you guys pulled each other together. Mm-hmm. We do that. One of the first things when guys come in the activation method, that's one of the first things that we teach them, and they get a quick win. She starts to feel it. And all of a sudden, wow, there's momentum here. Now there's more work that we've got to do. That's not the end of it. It's called a triad of connection. There's three really big pillars to all this, but I mean, that's kind of in the weeds, how it really is, fellas.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself. So guys, I highly recommend flagging this episode, going back and listening to exactly what Jake said another time, because there's so many nuances and nuggets that Jake dropped in there that could easily be missed, right? The first time you're hearing these things. Jake and I talk about these every day, all day. So you know how it is, guys. Whenever you do this for your profession, it's easy for you to glance over. But if it's your first time hearing these things, right? Polarity, what it is, right? And the fact that how do you get into your masculine energy if you've fallen out of it, right? It's so easy for us as men to be complicit, especially as we get into our later years in our 40s or so. You know, you've been busting your butt at work, you're raising a family, you know, things are going by so quickly. And yet you look in the mirror and you're like, who is that guy? What happened to the 20-some-year-old version of me, right? Who had all these dreams, this gusto. Well, I can tell you guys that guy is still inside of you, and there are ways to attract him and find him. In fact, we have an event going on right now that's doing that in the UK, and one coming up here in the States. So guys, the key here is to take action. The key here is do something. Jake's given you probably about a half a dozen things that you could do today, things you could do right now in this moment. Your job is to pick one and just take action now. Hit pause, go do it. Right, whatever it is, right? As you know, mediocrity just sucks. You don't want to be average. It's not good enough for you guys, but you have to do something different to get somewhere different.
Yeah.
Right? Jake, as always, man, I really appreciate all the knowledge you drop and things you do. Guys, if you want to check out, Jake put, I thought, hilarious and extremely informative training. It was great for the holidays to help you guys navigate that. That is in our free Facebook group. Guys, you can head over there. Just search for The Powerful Man on Facebook. You'll find it. It's not hard to discover. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I think there's a link below. Jake, love to have you on again, man. And keep dropping that knowledge. Thanks for all you do.
All right, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, guys, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. Pick one of these things that Jake has mentioned here today and actually do it. Don't be one of those guys that does what I call educational masturbation and just moves on from podcast to podcast. Be the guy who takes action and the guy that gets results. We'll see you next time. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, WOLF is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated because like I said, Life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.